the truth profound. These are Germans here. For me to the message clear. Go Paul, Das and Paul. They say DUANE, so writer leads the way. Time to madness, it's bright. Gotta wake up, see the light.
All right, so this stream happened 2 days ago. We've had some interesting weather here, to say the least. The wind gusts and all that, and I've been fighting with, in general, just with the garden, and I grow vegetables and peppers. It's kind of like a side hobby thing, and for some reason I kind of feel this links into the dream, but I'll get into the dream. I had found myself just kind of walking down my hallway, but it really wasn't quite my hallway. Because I have wood floors and just kind of plaster walls. It's kind of like a woody light brown color, not like dark brown, just a very light, gentle brown. And at first, I didn't quite notice the color differences. But I noticed the wood floor is really creaky. But yet it wasn't creaking at all. It's almost as if I was gliding across the floor. My feet really weren't even moving. I was just floating gently forward, almost as if I was like a quarter inch off the floor. I started to notice that there were plants kind of hanging from the walls, just these vines draping down. I was getting a closer look, and there were tomatoes. And then I'd look off forward, and suddenly the hallway was just full of tomatoes hanging down from the walls. I'm like, that's interesting. I wasn't quite registering that this isn't normal. This shouldn't be like this. So I started getting a closer look at the tomatoes, and I had noticed something very strange. They all had faces on them. Couldn't quite make out what they were, but it definitely had 2 eyes, a mouth. It wasn't a human mouth. It's more like elongated, kind of like a snout or a muzzle. But they were definitely tomatoes. The eyes weren't open; they were closed, and just kind of thought that it was a little weird. But dreams fate. I'm young and dumb. I didn't really register anything wrong at the time, so I continued to walk down the hallway, and I had tripped over a vine and fell forward, not quite hitting my face, but just kind of jamming my chin into the ground. And then suddenly it was no longer a wood floor, but it was dirt or soil. And there was like light ground cover, like some gentle ivy and creeping vines, nothing really messy, and actually quite comfortable to land on despite hitting my jaw. I started climbing up, and instead of in the hallway, I'm in my bathroom, except it's 3-4 times its normal size. Instead of one sink, the mirror's considerably bigger than what it usually is, and there's 5 sinks there instead. The toilet at the end, there was only one toilet. Well, kind of. It was a toilet within a toilet, if that makes any sense. It wasn't down in it. It was kind of like it was sticking out of the toilet bowl. But then if you got closer and look, there was another toilet sticking out of the toilet. I'm like, well, that's weird. And I started catching on that something wasn't quite right. And I look over to my right at the bathtub, and the bathtub's just full of, it looked like a weird hybrid of, I was like raspberry, strawberries. There were some other odd looking berries. I don't really know what they were. Some of them were yellow, some of them were a more kind of vibrant purple color, but they're all like berry size. The biggest one is about strawberry. But the bathtub was just overflowing with them. And I could tell that in the tub itself, the vines really weren't coming out of the tub, I guess kind of out of the walls, but it was full of this thick, slimy purple substance. It was a light, bright purple, but yet somehow really deep, rich, and dark at the same time. It was odd, but it had this very unusual scent that was wafting from it. At first, I thought it was like sweet. I go in a little bit closer, and then it was kind of like somebody just slapping me across the face. It was just really potent, kind of like musky. I'm not quite sure how to describe it. It had some earthy notes to it. Still, the sweetness was still there, but it was just, I honestly, it kind of smelled like crotch, as weird as that is. Um, so I just kind of ignored it and climbed to my feet. Thought it was a little disgusting, but started walking back out towards the door and back out into the hallway, and suddenly all the plants that were there are gone. It's just my regular hallway. The walls are like the lighter brown as they should. And I turned back around to the bathroom I just came from. And the bathroom's now clear of all the vegetables and fruits and stuff growing in there. The bathroom is now the normal size, except the tub still had that weird, deep, dank purple in it. And the toilet still had a toilet within the toilet, kind of popping out of that toilet with another toilet. And I kind of chuckled at myself, going, this is like toiletception. There's a toilet within another toilet and another toilet within that toilet. And I walked up closer and looked down inside the bowl of the toilet that's within the toilet, but the smaller toilet. And it just kind of went down infinity. It's kind of like where you got two mirrors facing each other, and if you look in either direction, it just goes on for an infinity. It's weird. But anyways, I went back over to the bathtub. Now that there was nothing in the way, and just kind of crouched down a little bit, just and decided just to dip my finger in the weird purple substance, and it felt warm to the touch. I just dipped my finger, and about almost to the second knuckle, not quite, and it just felt really clingy, I guess is the best way to describe it. And it suddenly just, I don't know if you've seen the movie Venom, or you got that symbiotic creature that kind of shares the human's body. The substance started creeping up my finger and hand in the same fashion. Except once it reached kind of like my palm was coated in my fingers, but once it started wrapping around to the top of my hand, these tendrils kind of shaped and sharpened and shot their way into my hand, piercing the skin as if and there was multiples of them, as if they were shooting right into the veins. And I know that was the veins because when that happened, it really wasn't painful. It was just kind of a shocking sensation. Just what the heck's going on? And my arms trembling and kind of contorting. It's not a painful contortion, but the veins going up my arm start bulging. I can see them through the skin, and they start discoloring and turning darker, as if I don't know. I can't say it was a poison. It was. It felt good. And the rest of my hand got coated, and the bulging, discoloring veins went up into about my shoulder region, then stopped. Nothing else happened from there. So curious, tasted my finger. I don't know why. I just did. You'd think I'd be freaking out, but I'm really not freaking out. And it tasted salty, but sweet at the same time. It was actually kind of good tasting, like a more kind of like earthy kind of with a really strong tinge of bitterness to it. Something, honestly, I'd probably put on a piece of toast. Um, it was different though. Nothing else happened. I just got up, and next thing I know, I wasn't in the bathroom anymore, but I was on a beach and just kind of looking out at the sea, wondering where I was, how I got there. And again, within a blink of an eye, I'm somewhere else. This time, I'm in a desert. It's nighttime. The moon just glaring moonlight across the sand. I'm kind of on top of a sand dune, just kind of staring out. And then I noticed that my other arm is now the same condition as the left one was after the bathtub incident. And again, within a blink of an eye, I teleport again. And now I'm inside a factory. And what's interesting about this one, I had actually shared a dream a while ago that involved me walking across catwalks that were endless, and there was these weird pictures on the wall with this like bird dragon like creature that in multiple dreams had kind of entered me and helped me out in some way or not. It was that same one. And off in the distance down the dark catwalk, there were glowing yellow eyes staring at me. And they were telling me to go. It's not safe for me there. And I kind of got the sensation that this might be that same creature. And it's warning me that I should not dwell in this kind of decrepit, worn down factory made by humans that is somehow poisoning the earth. So I'm just like any other factory. And I just kind of acknowledged and teleported again. And this time I'm floating in the clouds above the earth. I've flown before in planes, and it not passenger planes, single prop planes, and it felt like I was like 4 or 5 thousand feet up off the ground in low level cloud cover. It wasn't really thick, and I was just kind of floating there. The air was still, I couldn't feel nothing. And I had sensed something down on the ground below me, and it was looking up at me. And this was Eric in their big dragon form, just kind of because I guess Eric in their dragon form can do some weird thought speak thing. And they were kind of projecting thoughts up at me, tell me that I should really keep going in the direction I'm going. And I wasn't quite sure what that was meaning. I was pondering about it for a time, trying to think, what do you mean keep going in the direction I'm going? Like the direction I'm going teleporting around, the direction I'm going in real life. Or the G Fuel sponsorship that if I got back into gaming, I was offered. I wasn't quite sure what that meant. And before I could think about it much longer, I was back in my house, up in the bathroom where the first teleportation occurred. This time, the bathroom was mostly the same. The toilet was back to normal, but the bathtub was now overflowing with that deep purple goo. And before I know it, it's wrapping around my feet and traveling up my legs at a relatively fast rate. And by this point, I can't move. I can move my upper body, but my feet are stuck in place. And at this point, I'm starting to panic. Here I got both of these weird coated in this weird black purple like substance. And at this point, I'm starting to realize that I kind of know that smell and taste. It kind of like latex. I mean, who hasn't, smelled latex, like, the gloves and stuff like that at the doctor's office and things like that. It was kind of reminding me of that. But this stuff was traveling up my legs, and before I knew it, it was up past my waist, and I'm just starting to feel really heavy, as if it's not really pulling me down. Maybe it's just the extra weight bulking onto me, but within 30 seconds, it's up to my neck. And at this point, I'm definitely starting to get panicked. I'm gasping, I'm moving my head around, but I'm not really hollering or calling out or anything, which is the weird thing. It's almost as if I'm just kind of letting it happen, but it worked its way up to my neck, around my jaw, in the backside of my head, almost exactly how Venom would wrap around his host, and then it just went around to the front of my face and just forced its way into my nose. These little tendrils sprouted out and pulled my jaw open wide, and this larger, thick tendril started to form. And it was just really grotesque looking. A tentacle, I guess, is what it was. I mean, it was a tendril of some sort. It was pretty dang hefty. But next thing I know, these little tendrils are pulling my mouth open, and it just shoots itself into my mouth, like violently, very rough. And I'm trying to gag, trying to breathe, but I can't. So my mouth has now been stuffed full. My nose is being pumped full of this weird purple, grotesque liquid that's just it's really bitter tasting at this point, and my jaw is being stretched as wide as it can go. Sorry, Eric, this thing's bigger than you. Well, anyways, it starts flowing down my throat, and at this point feels like I'm losing consciousness, and I black out. Next thing I know, I don't know how much time had passed, but I wake up outside in the woods somewhere, a forest woods. I don't know where I was, next to a creek and a pond, very still water pond. It's sunny outside, light razor, just kind of shining down through the treetops. And I finally remembered what just happened. And I look at myself and I'm coated in that black stuff, but yet I'm reaching up at my mouth because I still feel like my throat's is filled and like it's being stretched out, and there's no opening. I can't feel a mouth. I can kind of feel like a lump where my nose is, but there's no holes, and it felt as if my eyes were closed, which just very bizarre and alien that I can't quite describe the sensations of. I just try not panicking, and I walk over to the small pond there. And luckily, the water was just perfectly still, like glassy smooth, pretty much like a mirror. And I'm looking down in it, and I'm covered head to toe with this stuff. And sure enough, what I thought, my mouth is completely sealed off. My nose is, but yet somehow I'm still breathing through my nose perfectly fine. That was weird. Very weird. And same with my eyes. They were just kind of glossed over with this stuff. I didn't have any hair though. Or it was coated under a very smooth layer of whatever this weird gunk is. And I'm just looking down at myself somehow through covered eyes, and it begins the shift in form. And then I remember that creature was there in the factory that told me I need to go. It's not safe. And I just started getting this sensation as if I was being guarded. And as I'm looking at myself in the water, this weird latex goop starts to reform itself, and it starts taking the shape of that canine dragon bird-like creature, except it wasn't furred, it was more smooth. A muzzle was growing out of my face and kind of like sloppily slitting open, the teeth kind of splattering this gunk out as the lips kind of forcefully snapped apart from the seal that was being made. And it was this creature forming in the goop. And I'm sitting here, I have full control of my body. I'm just watching this happen. There's really nothing I can do. It's just happening. And I really didn't feel anything weird about it. It just felt natural. The weirdest thing was when the tail sprouted out. That was interesting. But despite that, I still felt like there was something in my throat. And I'm feeling around, and there's just this big lump in my throat, as if that tendril was still there and just kind of like ballooned up. There was throat bulge. It wasn't really uncomfortable. It's just weird. Um, and next thing I know, I'm just hearing voices off in the distance. They were unintelligible. It wasn't even English, and I don't even think it was any sort of human language. It was just these weird tones and sounds, but my brain was processing it as it was something talking to one another. There was multiples. And I go running the opposite direction, just kind of getting out. And then as I'm running, I'm realizing that this is the same forest I've been to in the past. There was a dream I had shared a while back that I had protected the forest from humans invading, and I had killed one of them. I'm realizing that as I'm running away and kind of following the stream, this is that same stream. The pond back there was the same one I was at in that previous dream. And I just instinctively knew where to go to get away and hide. And I just kind of crawl in this big oak tree that had just kind of partially rotted out, and it was hollow on the inside. I crawl through a small entrance and get in there, and I'm just kind of hiding. Light rays are shining into the door, and nothing's coming my direction, but I'm just staying put. And I'm just kind of flabbergasted. I'm remembering that I've been here before, and I'm confused why I'm even here in the first place. And wandering hands be wandering hands. I'm just kind of checking out as the weird final changes on that creature's body, which is mine, but instead of like flesh and fur, it was this weird, soft, supple, latex like material. It's almost if I was artificial, or the body itself was artificial. Maybe it was a manifestation of reality, that everything I have, and which is me, is just artificial and not really real. And it's just what I've been taught what it is and not what it really should be. And yeah, I'm just kind of feeling around. And the weird thing is I didn't have any, well, I didn't think I had any genitals, but I was definitely a male. But yet there was a slit there instead. Like everything was internal, I guess. It would slide out. I mean, new body, you're going to be curious. You're going to be feeling around and poking about. Um, Definitely a male for sure. Um, and before I knew what happened, I teleport again to the beach. And I'm still that weird latex like creature. And I teleport again and then again. And it's bringing me back through the random teleportations I had before, but in reverse order until I'm back into the bathroom. This time the bathtub was empty. Well, obviously it's empty. Whatever was in there was on me and inside me. Quite literally, it had penetrated my nose, probably my ears, definitely my throat, and dare I say it went in the rear hole, and I'm pretty sure it snaked itself down the front hole. It's probably a little TMI, but I think they call that sounding. I wasn't sure what to do. Why am I back here? Why is this happening? So I just wander out into the hallway, and the hallway's full of all those tomatoes again. But this time I'm getting the faces on all the tomatoes are more defined. These are definitely human faces now, and they're all sorts. From all across the world, as if these are like templates of I just got the weird sensation, I guess because the new body I'm in had heightened awareness and heightened senses. They were kind of, I could pick up on some fine details I couldn't before. There were some Asian ones. There was just faces from all across the world, and I had this sense that they were templates, and that if I had ate one of them, that would become my new life until I died again. As if this was maybe the waiting room. And I had noticed that above me weren't the normal lights in the hallway, but they were tortoise shells. Again, the turtle thing always shows up. But they were just the shells, but the different scale patterns were like stained glass or something like that, and just kind of shining light down into the hallways. And when I seen that, I was even more comforted. Like the turtle's been with me through everything in some form or fashion, as a symbol or reality of some sort. But I don't know. I just kind of accepted my new body, and next thing I know, I thought I had woke up because now I had snapped to in bed, and I'm human again. And my room looks perfectly fine. And then I just remember hearing on the news, because my radio wakes me up, and I have it's an internet radio. I had it defaults to new news that comes on. So this is convincing that I actually woke up. But this is like a false awakening of some sort. It was talking about upcoming disaster, just complete disaster, destroyed buildings, just people fleeing. I mean, I look at the world that's going on right now. I'm like, I mean, that could be anywhere, but I had the sense that it was here and very, very soon. And right when I realized that, my body burst out with that black substance and mounted me into the bed and encased me into this just kind of like rubber egg, I guess, as a protection or something like that. But the tendrils burst forth inside and just started tying me up, just kind of like grasping my wrists, stretching me out. My legs were wide, my arms were wide, and forcing their way into everything they could. And at this point, I'm panicking, and then I wake up again, but this time it was for real. And that is my recent really weird dream.
You crew, we gather round, real guys bring the truth profound. These are Germans here, follow me to the message clear. Go Paul, dance and Paul, they say DUANE, so writer leaves the way. Time to madness, it's blight, gotta wake up. see the light. Don't think, just feel the vibe. The sun's got a cosmic drive. Break the chains, the mental hold. Truth unfold, the storms are guide, a cosmic drive. Break the chains, the mental hold. The truth unfold, the story told. We strong, and unite front. Against the darkness we will hunt. Time to break the simulation spell with new you power. We are Symbiotic, new you. Breaking free from the matrix. Dark forces lurking, reptilian scheme. That lies that control a twisted dream. You together we rise above, shattering the lies, spreading risky. I knew you staring at the thing to be done. Staring at the sun, the only thing to be done.